Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Landon.
And who am I? I don't
That's
know.
right. Who am I? We don't know. It's RFM.
RFM. Jinx.
We all talk over each other. It's true. We had to bring RFM back on our podcast today because we have done a prior episode on this topic with RFM. This came up very quickly, and we were sort of encouraged to do this by the people that we're going to be talking about, which is kind of interesting. We'll get into that later, but we had to bring RFM back to weigh on this again. We are going to be talking about the Cavalry.
The Cavalry. Is it true that in order to be a member of the Cavalry, you have to actually have chlamydia?
Okay. Landon, when I said let's bring RFM back on, why
that may have been a mistake.
Remind me what happened last time.
I don't know if it's a requirement or just an aspiration.
This is not that kind of podcast. No, again, and it's Cavalry, it's not Calvary. A lot of people, even their own members, make this mistake. In fact, we put this episode out a month or so ago. Lots of views, lots of conversation, lots of people weighing in from the Cavalry, and half of them spelled it Calvary. So I think it's speech to text kind of a thing, but it is the Cavalry. And this is a group. I'll link the previous episode in the show notes so that you can, if you missed it, somehow you can watch that episode. But we'll very quickly tell you what this group is. And then there's an update, which is what this podcast is about. Let's go to our next slide.
Okay.
Perfect. Landon's the slide master. All I have to do is think. Let's go to the next slide. There it is. Okay. First slide, second slide. Okay. So we'll just very quickly go over, Landon, why don't you read this first one, who the Cavalry are, and then we'll dive right into our update.
Okay. Yeah. Let's shed some light on a private Facebook group called the Cavalry, run by a number of Mormon apologists and self-proclaimed scholars on the admin moderator roster who are connected to various pro-Mormon organizations like BYU, Fair LDS, Mormon R, Scripture Central, the Interpreter Foundation. If you're at all familiar with Mopologetics,
I know.
You will probably recognize some of their name. Yeah. It's unclear how many of them are being paid for their contributions to these organizations, but it's safe to assume that there is a blend of volunteer contributions plus research from these individuals as well. Likewise, it is unclear to what degree the church SCMC, Sustaining Church Membership Committee, is aware of this and approves of it.
Right. And again, this is sort of a explanation from somebody who is a member of the Cavalry who kind of wanted to bring the organization to light. And I think this is the first time anybody had heard about it. Any thoughts on this slide, RFM, or should we go to the next one?
Well, we should go to the next one because this is just laying the foundation for the update, which you stumbled upon today, right?
That's exactly right. So I'll read this one, I guess. The purpose of the group, and this is again to familiarize with you guys with it, is these self-proclaimed scholars. This is what they do. They use missionaries to fish for conversations with anti-Mormons or bashers of any stripe. That means evangelical or like an ex-Mormon. And then they try to provide their own bizarre brand of faith-promoting apologetic to the missionaries. And if those efforts are unsuccessful, the Cavalry encourages missionaries to get these people to participate in a Zoom call with a friend. That would be an apologist. The friend ranges from 1 to 2 apologists on average, but at times they have several on a single call. So these are actually missionaries that appear briefly on these calls. We've shown this, and they have investigators who are being taught not by missionaries, but by these apologists. This is why we thought this group was so surprising. And we wondered if the church knew anything about this, because that definitely kind of goes against the rules. And as we went through some of their information and some of their posts, definitely encourage, do not tell it. First rule of the Cavalry is don't talk about the Cavalry. Don't tell. It's word of mouth only. Don't tell the mission president. Don't tell your leaders or anybody. The Cavalry often records these conversations with investigators without asking permission, post the videos. We watched tons of these videos and we posted a lot of them on our previous episode. And the videos, they post the videos in the group itself for missionaries to watch. So it's sort of this clearinghouse of apologetics for missionaries to be able to answer those tough questions that come at them from investigators. Currently, the Cavalry private Facebook group has over 14,000 members. I think it's more now. I didn't even check today. In fact, I think our episode drew a lot of publicity and members to the group. So you're welcome, the Cavalry. I know they definitely added a lot of apologists the very next day. Some very well-known apologists signed up to be part of this group. 50 to 60% are probably currently active missionaries, with the remainder being comprised of return missionaries. So you hear about it on your mission. then once you've returned, you can remain a part of it.
And the important thing is that tonight we're not redacting the names of the members, right, Rebecca?
Well, what happened is I started to redact because I'm into redacting privacy.
Mhm.
And then I was at work. I didn't have time. And then I realized that almost everybody that commented was a moderator. So I feel like, they are at the top of the organization. It's not just a person commenting. So I just kind of gave up. I'm sorry. It's lazy, non-redacting. So.
Well, I'm glad you're finally doing what I wanted you to do from the beginning.
Yes.
Just expose these jokers.
Yes, we have the battle to redact or not to redact. That is the question.
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there?
I see a Shakespeare episode. Yes.
Brush up your Shakespeare. Okay. Again, we're just kind of moving through. Okay, I don't think we have to read this whole thing. It just describes how it's very secretive. You hear about it from a companion, maybe on your mission. And again, it's just, there's like a message board. You can talk to apologists, talk to other missionaries about those really difficult questions. And they do tell you, do not mention this to mission presidents, to leaders. They would not understand, which is why we thought it was so interesting and wanted to podcast about it, because it's so under the radar. Do parents know when their kids go out on a mission, they're going to join this group and even be a part of the group? They consider themselves stripling warriors, very powerful, very strong. And these missionaries are in it even post mission. So if you're interested, go to that Facebook site. They have it very clearly posted, who we are, what we're about, what our rules are. You can go through all of that. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Can you guys think of any other thing we've missed in kind of describing very quickly who the Cavalry, what the group is about?
Apparently, they don't take kindly to being talked about or outed because they came after you, didn't they?
Yes, there was some unpleasantness there with, some social media being shut down and things like that. And I hope that doesn't happen this time, because I really feel they got more members from our exposure. Our whole question was, does the church know about it or condone this? We came to the conclusion that yes, because nothing happened to them. And again,
That's
church
right.
apologists joined after the fact, some big ones, big names. And so there's no need to go after us at all. We're giving you more converts and PR.
Mm-hmm. No, I said if the church had not acted to shut these people down, because we know the SCMC watches our shows.
Yeah.
And this was on a Mormonish show. Yeah, they absolutely watch the shows. So the church knows about their existence from our show. And if they haven't done anything, that's been a month ago, and they haven't done anything, then the church is complicit in the activity of the chlamydia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think as we go on about the show, you're going to find that what they're doing now makes it very clear that the church is aware of it and is actually supporting this type of group. So I think, it seems confusing to me that this group would come on and say, don't tell your mission presidents, don't tell your parents, keep this a secret, while the church is now encouraging this group to go out and do this kind of apologetics.
Because they're not telling the church what their name is. They're not telling them who they are. They are sailing under a false flag, is my suspicion. But we haven't actually gotten to that part of the story yet, so I'll let you, Landon, and you, Rebecca, go ahead and reveal the new bombshell that you have so we can talk about it more and what's going on with these jokers and BYU.
Yeah, and I will say, you'll recognize a lot of the names from the Cavalry as far as the apologists that are connected. I've had phone calls with some of them. They're scholars, they're people that we interact with. But again, sort of this brand of apologetics for these missionaries, it's kind of aggressive. It's kind of wonky apologetics a little bit. It's kind of fringy.
It's offensive.
Okay. RFM's going to say it. Yeah.
It's offensive. Travis Anderson, right? That's the guy's name who's like the head of these people. Yeah. He is offensive. He is a huge billboard for why you would never want to join the church. If I'm a mission president, I wouldn't want him within a mile of any of my missionaries investigators. That's why I have trouble thinking that mission presidents actually know what they're about and are okay with it.
Yeah, I think it definitely flies in the face of what the church presents itself at as just, missionaries don't fight, don't bash, simply bear your testimony. If you get into a confrontation, we're not about that. We're not about negativity. But it seems like they're saying that out of one side of their mouth, yet condoning this other group that promotes that kind of behavior that goes exactly against what the church is saying to do. So I think that's one of the things we took issue with. This is just another slide about, they share information. They have Google Drives full of apologetics, and they even say they use a lot of the backyard professor stuff back before he left. So that's ingenuous too, because they don't ever tell the missionary who's reading BYP stuff, oh no, he figured it out and he left. So anyway, all right. So I hope you have a sense of who the group is. So in our mind, the Cavalry is like Book of Mormon, or now named, because that's a victory for Satan, Scripture Central. And this is a screenshot from an episode we did on being banned from Moroni Day. But I don't even know if this is even on their site anymore. And I don't know if you can see this to read it, Landon, but they kind of describe what they do that the church can't do. And I feel that the Cavalry is fulfilling the same function for the church. Can you read that, Landon, at all?
Yeah, I can. It's Book of Mormon Central is not officially endorsed by the church, although we are a trusted independent organization. Members of the 12 and the 70 have keynoted BMC events. Church leaders and employees work with us both as private individuals and occasionally in official capacities. We hope our efforts help all of the religious organizations within the Restoration Movement who cherish the Book of Mormon. We hope our materials prove useful to missionaries working with investigators. We hope our approach helps many people stay in the boat, as Elder Ballard taught in October 2014 and October 2016 General Conference addresses. Our publications ultimately depend on research. Research is inherently exploratory and uncertain. Being completely independent empowers BMC to take calculated risks, which the official church would not be comfortable undertaking. If we are successful, the church benefits. If we are not successful, the church is not embarrassed. We support the church's mission to help more of God's children feast upon the words of Christ in the Book of Mormon.
Yes, I think that's it in a nutshell. We'll do what the church can't. They're kind of like, the sketchy side, right? They'll take risks. They'll use apologetics that the church would never come out with or actually stay in conference because they're questionable, and yet they serve a function. What do you think, RFM, about the statement from Book of Mormon Scripture Central?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing the things the church can't do, won't do, is scared to do.
Yeah.
And so if they go out there and if they make a mistake, then it doesn't read down to the detriment of the church leadership or the church as a whole. And if they find something really juicy, then that's great because it works for the church. Mm-hmm. So they're basically totally putting themselves as the servants of the church leadership.
Yeah, what upsets me about this is this isn't how church works. This isn't how the gospel works. You don't outsource prophecy. And that's what they're doing. They're outsourcing the doctrine. They're outsourcing the teaching. They're outsourcing all of these so that they remove the risk from themselves. They can put information out through Book of Mormon Central, through the Cavalry, and through these pseudo-apologetic groups in which they can say, hey, here's an idea. Here's maybe an explanation that'll work. And then if it falls apart, we didn't say that. That didn't come from us. You didn't hear it from us. And that's exactly what these groups are about. Why aren't the missionaries there giving testimony of the doctrine as taught by the prophets, if the prophets are indeed receiving prophecy? Why are they outsourcing this rather than standing up in conference and saying these things? They're leaving it to researchers, which this is ridiculous. Research is inherently exploratory and uncertain. No, that's why you do research, is to make it not uncertain. Yes, you may find some issues, but that's the reason you do research. And to say that it's exploratory, that's just a cop-out so they can say, hey, whatever you find, if you find something during your research, that's just exploratory. There's probably a better explanation and we're going to give it to you. But to me, this is just like companies outsourcing their IT to India. That's what the church is doing here.
Not to disparage India. We love our viewers and listeners in India. There you go.
Yes, very, very much.
All right, let's get on with it. Okay, so I have this graphic here. It has a green light and it has the logo for BYU. What could this possibly mean in relation to the group, the Cavalry? Let's go to the first post that we came across. We'll let RFM read it. This is an announcement from the Cavalry.
I know a word that has the letter Y in it.
That's right.
Cavalry.
Yeah,
it does.
And something else. And this comes from somebody that I guess you actually did redact the name. Who is this from? Is this from Travis Anderson?
I don't remember. No. And I don't remember because I did start to redact. Then I had to give up because I had to actually work. So
okay, well, it's somebody who's in charge because he starts his message by saying, "Afternoon, troopers. Big announcement. We've got the green light from the Religious Education Department to start a 100% apologetics dedicated organization for students at BYU. We think this will be an invaluable resource for all of us who are interested in continuing to study the truth claims of the restoration when we come home from the mission. Us Cavalry members," my gosh, my mother is spinning in her grave over that grammar. "Us Cavalry members are much better at church apologetics than we are at the English language." No, it says us Cavalry members are posed to have a huge impact, on making our generation the most informed and conscientious in the history of the church, culturally and academically. We're still in the early stages of getting this up and running, but Dr. Derek Sainsbury, who had a huge impact on my testimony and my decision to serve a mission, will be the club's advisor. And we have a lot of ideas bouncing around for how to make this as effective and fun as possible. We'd love to get an idea of whether anyone else, you don't have to be BYU students, just in the Utah County area, would be interested in coming to weekly meetups to talk apologetics, create social media content, and potentially get some debate set up with our Utah evangelical friends for those who want to participate. We'd love your ideas too. There's almost a dozen or so of us who have been meeting up to lay the groundwork, but we know we can expand our influence for good. Please send me or President Oaks a DM.
It did not say Oaks. And again,
well, what did it say?
Redact. I can't remember. It'll be mentioned later. Again,
well, I can't remember. How do you know it wasn't Oaks?
Because I know it wasn't. It was another name. I think it started with Z. I'm not sure. So this is it. The Cavalry has gotten permission from the Religious Education Department to start their apologetic group on campus for students and also for people who are just in the area. And one interesting thing I hadn't really come across before, now that I read it through, debates with evangelicals. And I know there is this thing where there's kind of this back and forth where a lot of these people in the Cavalry, they do go and heavily debate an evangelical group in Provo. So this is a big part of it, that you fight for your cause, you hone your skills on debate. And again, that's not really what the church teaches. You're supposed to bear a humble testimony. So it's very different. Oh.
RFM is actually muted.
He's muted. He's muted. You're muted.
I had to find out. I had to actually look it up because when you said President Z, it starts with a Z. Would that be Dr. Zayas?
Yeah, I think it is. You mean Zayas?
Zayas.
Dr. Zayas.
I never know how to pronounce orangutan.
That's right.
What's he the president of?
That's right. It could be Dr. Zayas. We don't know.
What's he the president of?
I'm not sure. It just says president. Anyway, I think
everyone in the church is a president. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to undo. I was redacting on my phone. I may have to actually. Oh, how interesting. Okay.
What is it? Tell us.
It was a post from Mormonish about the Cavalry. So I don't know if a short just popped up or somebody's tracking us, but something's happening. Anyway, let's go to the next slide.
Throw your phone out the window.
I feel like I have to. So this is the logo right here. And again, they go with the troopers, right? Because their original logo, they're kind of in the stormtrooper look. And this is the BYU Apologetics Club. And It has the BYU logo, and they have permission to use it, I guess.
And what does it not say on it?
It doesn't say the Cavalry.
And chlamydia is nowhere to be found here.
Oh my goodness. There
false
you go.
False flag. They're sailing under a false flag. Why would BYU have any problem with a bunch of nerds, Mormon nerds, wanting to get together and do an apologetics club? None.
Well, I can tell you that is not encouraged by the church. We had some young men who decided they wanted to get together and read the scriptures in our ward, and they were told, no, you can't do that. They don't want the youth getting together and talking about gospel topics without adult leadership from the church, because exactly this, they start finding things. And this is exactly what happened. Is one of the young men was aware of many of the church problems and brought it up to the other boys, and that almost that entire class of priests did not go on missions as they learned these
Was
things.
that you, Landon?
It was not me, no.
That's right. You were such a straight-laced Mormon kid when you were a kid. But no, you're right. It's the home study group, right? We were cautioned about that. My mom ran a Wednesday Relief Society program for older women or women that couldn't attend on Sunday. It was a wonderful program. It was in home. The bishop said it was okay. They used the lesson manual. It was on Wednesdays. Eventually just, nope, can't meet in homes, can't talk about the curriculum. Yet here we are. They're doing exactly this.
That's why it's important to have Dr. Zayas present, or Sainsbury, or whatever the guy's name. There is actually a professor, right? Who's going to be the head of the club, the advisor. The guy who's supposed to be there to make sure that the students don't get into any trouble.
Yep, that's exactly right. So yeah, this is very interesting. It doesn't say the Cavalry anywhere on it. It kind of reminds me of the episode of, sorry, my dog is whining for some reason. It kind of probably about the Cavalry. It reminds me of the episode of the Brady Bunch, you know, where Marcia wants to be popular. And so she goes to the sign up board and all the clubs are there, you know, and she's reading through them. Yeah. Trying to pick them, you know, what is she going to pick? And in this, she would never know that she was joining the Cavalry whatsoever. She'd go, oh, BYU apologetics. This sounds amazing.
Yes.
So I can see people just falling into it, not knowing exactly what it was. Okay.
And there is a message that you have that's upcoming that does indicate that they are sneaking this one past.
Yeah.
The BYU
a few different little posts. Yep.
Yeah.
So the next thing that we read, and these are
which I think is also, I know I'm a guest and I apologize.
No,
but
please.
Which is also similar to what I think they've been doing with the mission presidents.
Yes. Yep, very much under the radar. So, Landon, do you want to read this one? So here's some of the names. We don't need to read the names, but there's a group of people talking.
Yep. He says, T-minus 5 minutes till Mormonish does a follow-up episode on the Cav and its insidious encroachment into BYU itself.
I might use that for the thumbnail. Insidious encroachment of the, you know. So I guess we should go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know. I thought that was cute that they called us out, you know.
Cole White's been direct messaging me.
Oh, are you guys friends? Okay.
No, but you know, he seems like a nice enough guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sure they all are. Yeah.
I think that's exactly
not Stephen
right.
Smoot.
Yeah. Oh,
he's not a nice guy. He's a son of a bitch. That's why his middle name is Bukake.
I do not know who that is. So
Stephen Bukake Smoot.
The people that I do know are very nice people. I just question the organization of this group and what their aims are, and vulnerable missionaries. I couldn't say that enough in our last podcast. These vulnerable young men on the missions, they get in there. Again, we saw some that appeared on camera with their investigator. That is not how it works. The investigator should not be being taught by some apologists, as we thought, not approved by the church, but now we're thinking, I guess this is kind of how they're doing it. The apologists back home have to teach the converts because it's too dicey out there. Maybe that's what's happening.
I did want to make it clear that Mormonish is not doing a follow-up episode on the Cav. Mormonish is doing a follow-up episode on the Clam.
There you go. You just won't let that go, will you?
Never.
We'll
not
edit
until
it all
not
out,
until
I
chlamydia
promise.
sticks to these guys the way Bukake sticks to Smoot.
I actually think this is going to be a good thing. Can you imagine? They're trying to build an army of apologists at BYU, and look at everyone I know who has gone on to be apologists. Eventually, end up right here.
Yep. RFM, huge apologists. In fact, I'm guessing the Cavalry is using some of your materials. You're in Book of Mormon
the best
studies.
Stuff there is.
I've
better
read
be
it.
using it.
Really good. If they're not using it, you guys need to use RFM's materials. You cannot tell people that he left. That's fine, but it's good stuff. So,
you've got RFM, you've got Bill Rill, you've got the Backyard Professor.
Yep.
And you know, it's just like what we've heard whenever people go and take an Old Testament biblical doctorate degree. They're discouraged from doing such by BYU because everyone who goes and does that ends up leaving the church once they learn the history of the Old Testament and where it came from. So
they get Bakavoid.
Yes, they do.
Bakavoid. Oh, there's another one who was huge, right?
Yep.
So, and again, you use the word an army of, and this is exactly how they see themselves in my interactions. The word army is used. We're the stripling warriors. We're strong. So they definitely see themselves as raising the banner and fighting the fight. and helping people stay in the church and making converts with this brand of apologetics. This is what they're doing.
Well, and when you want to debate these things, you are by nature, you're going to be introduced to some new ideas.
Yep.
And when you start researching it, you're going to find out, oh, wait a minute, this isn't exactly what I was told. And that causes some cognitive dissonance. So
yeah, we'll see.
It doesn't matter to me if the BYU wants to do this, but it certainly just seems counterintuitive to everything I've been taught about how the church operates its missionary program.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, let's move ahead. Let's go here to the next one. Oh, I had to look up what it takes to start a club at BYU. And again, this has the go-ahead green light from the Religious Studies Institution. But just in general, it says clubs at BYU. To start a club at Brigham Young University, you can visit the BYUSA office. The BYU Student Association is an organization that manages all the clubs at BYU. And I looked, and there's all kinds of clubs. I mean, all different kinds. I believe that most LGBTQ clubs are not allowed to meet on campus. I know that we've talked to people before that have said they formed clubs, they were sent off campus. So that's kind of interesting. If you want to talk about that juxtaposition, letting the apologists on, other kinds of clubs cannot meet there. Anyway, some things to consider when starting a club. You have to have an advisor. The club needs a full-time faculty or staff member as an advisor. The advisor is responsible for managing the club's funds, working with student leaders, and implementing university policies. They have an advisor, right? They mentioned Derek, I think was his name, right?
Sainsbury.
Yes, Derek, who was instrumental in the one person going on their mission. So he's agreed he's going to be the advisor. You have to have approval. Clubs that don't have a specific academic focus or department. Now that's interesting. Would you consider this an academic focus?
No.
But I wonder
if it's being approved by the religious education. Isn't that kind of
that's a department? So they do have an approval.
Isn't that the one Brad Wilcox is in?
That's what I think. That's what I'm saying.
You're saying I wasn't focusing on the department approval. I was focusing on the academic focus.
Yeah. No.
And there is no department in BYU or in the entire country that has less of an academic focus than BYU's religion department. They do not do any academic work.
Right.
That's true.
That could be peer reviewed, or that would be considered academic work anywhere else.
Well, they simply interpret and read the scriptures and quote the prophets, but they don't do any kind of research or background or anything like that. They simply teach the doctrine as taught by the church.
Yeah, I think that I'm being correct in saying that. It might be a little bit of hyperbole, but if it's any hyperbole, it's not a lot.
Yeah. Well, correct us if we're wrong in the comments, of course. And they need to get approval from the BYUSA. Representation. Clubs that represent BYU off campus, such as at conferences or competitions, debate competitions, oh my gosh, should display the BYU monogram logo. And they're displaying the logo right there. You know, they came up with that logo with the stormtrooper. So, you know, they're able to use it. So that tells me that they probably went through all the processes and got all the approvals. BYU clubs are a way for students to meet people with similar interests, apologetics and bashing. I'm kidding. Develop skills and
like how to make people hate you.
Exactly. Develop skills and contribute to the campus community. You can find a list at BYU clubs edu. So
is this too new? Is this too new to be listed there at clubs.byu?
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I was trying to look for it, but I did not see it. Again, I just went through really quickly. So maybe some of our viewers or listeners can take a look and see if they can find it. So, okay, moving on. Landon, why don't you read this next post?
Yeah, this is from the admin. Attention RMs and currently serving missionaries. As of yesterday, we've officially set up our BYU Apologetics Club group. If any of you would like to hear announcements about meetings and events, please join, and we look forward to seeing you. If you're an RM and don't attend BYU, no worries. If you attend another university, no worries. I think they're starting another chapter of the Apologetics Club in various universities across Utah and also at BYU-I. If you need help finding your people, you can reach out to us or look at the comments of the previous post about the BYU Apologetics Club. This group will be comms for the other apologetic groups as well.
Hey, Landon.
Yeah.
Landon, what does that mean? Comms, COMMS.
Communication. They're going to be the main communication group for the other clubs as well, and will be the best way for
the mothership.
The mothership, and be the best way for RMs and currently serving missionaries to get in contact with their future club leaders. Obviously, the other chapters might do their own Discord or whatever, but as far as social media stuff that we do together and the main presentations from scholars we host, all of their comms will be in this group too. If you're a currently serving missionary and would like to hear about events or videos, that's great too, but there are a couple of rules for you. Please refrain from doing things that go against mission rules. Please refrain from joining the messenger group until you get back from your mission. If you have any additional questions, please let me know. So evidently you're not supposed to tell your mission president, but don't go against mission rules. So
yeah, I think maybe they're trying to make it clear. I think, maybe they've gotten some pushback on the fact that some of the missionaries weren't following the rules to be a part of the cavalry. So they're trying to keep it above board.
I see either they're doing that or they're just being two-faced. Oh. So this is Zachary Wright, whose name you had redacted in the first
I think that was the name. Again,
it's the same avatar. Okay. So Zachary Wright, who's an admin for him. Okay, he's the one who wrote that. Got it. Okay, great.
Yep. So there it is. Sounds like there are other pods forming in other places.
Let me read this one.
Very interesting. Yes, please. Ooh, Horshack. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. Luke. Okay, so Luke Miller says, Cavalry Club at BYU would be so amazing. And Noah Airmet responds, we're not going to call it that. Oh, what? Wait a second. Cavalry Club at BYU would be so amazing. Luke Miller says, we're not going to call it that, Luke, but it's pretty much that. And then he has a winky face, an emoji.
That explains why they have the stormtrooper. It's Luke. I'm your Cavalry Club.
This is not the group you're looking for.
We're not going to call it that, but it's pretty much that. It's not any more church sponsored than, say, the Democrats Club or the Republicans Club, both of which also exist through BYUSA either. But I'd like to make the transition from casual clam missionary to disciple scholar as smooth as possible for as many clam members as we can reach. And it would help if everyone already has a group of people they know waiting for them when they get back. And hopefully we'll run into more interested BYU students who never found the clam along the way.
Well, see, that's interesting because right there in the parentheses, which also exist through BYUSA. So they do exist formally through BYUSA. So they should appear on the list. If I looked closer, they might have been there. We'll have to scan through.
Are there that many?
Interesting. There's a lot. Yeah. And they were like pictures of them, not a list. You had to like scroll through their
You think the Apologetics Club would be pretty up there toward the top? Yeah, they're going alphabetically.
You would think so. But then look, it says, so now we understand kind of the designation here because it says, what do they call it? Members can reach. Oh, the Cav missionary. So those are people that discover the group on their mission and they access them in a certain way that follow the mission rules. And then disciple scholar. That must be what they call themselves once they come home. Because they want to make the transition from the mission to when they're coming home and they're still engaging in the same activities, but with a different name. How interesting.
Notice there they say, here's the disclaimer. We're not any more church sponsored than, say, the Democrats Club or Republican Club. So there you have it. There's we can say whatever we want, but it's not the church saying it. It's only, sponsored at BYU by the Religious Education Department, which is providing an academic advisor for the group. But that's not church sponsorship by any means.
Yeah. However, I believe if the church did not want this group to exist, it would not exist at BYU.
Exactly.
Because as we know, other groups have been disbanded or, said no. They have gotten the red light, not the green light.
We've seen LGBTQ advocacy groups were disbanded by BYU because they did not have the sponsorship from the church. The church would not allow it. So the fact that they're allowing this means the church, they may not be sponsoring them, but they're certainly in support of them, because if they weren't, they would not allow them to exist.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see them up here. I have a list. There's a lot of pages of these groups.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I didn't see it.
It goes from the Anti-Racism Club to the Arab Student Association. So I would think that apologetics would be in between those two, and I'm not seeing it.
Not yet. Well, it sounds like it's brand new. I mean, this is kind of breaking news. We should say that, right? Breaking news.
No results for apologetics under BYU student organizations at this point, which is September 16th, 2024 at 7:19 p.m.
I wonder if they're using another name. I mean, even a different name from that. But their logo said BYU Apologetics.
Yeah, so I think it's probably that.
It's got to be there. I wonder if we look on the religious education page, if they list any of their own. We'll have to do that next. So
is that like leadership education?
I mean, that's the department, you know. So if you look under, like when I was in the humanities department, you could look up and you could see all the groups once they had the internet. Of course, when I was first in the humanities department, it was the mid 80s, so no internet, but they would list their clubs and things like that. So we could possibly find it that way. Okay, let's see. I'll read through. Okay, this is very funny to me. So Stephen Smoot says, oh man, just wait until Bill Reel finds out about this. And then he says, let's make sure we do a wellness check on him when he does. And then Noah Ermet says the entirety of the subreddit ex-Mormon won't know what hit him with a little devil face. Now, why do you think they're calling out Bill? He, to me, has never had anything to do with this group. We podcasted about it. You did.
Stephen Bukake Smoot, to use his full name.
Okay, I do not know.
He hates Bill Reel because Bill Reel has, in years past, invited Stephen Smoot to come on his show. Oh. Stephen Smoot has rigorously refused to do that because he always has an excuse of some sort or other to cover up the fact that he's a hopeless chicken shit. Oh, so that's why.
For a debate, because that's kind of the creed of the Cavalry is to learn to engage in debate. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So Stephen Smoot, he's a poser. He doesn't want to debate anybody. He's a total chicken. And if he were not, he would have gone on with Bill Reel and talked with him. But instead, he came up with, this was on Bill's Facebook page. It was like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. I was not aware.
Yes. And that's when Stephen Smoot, he starts talking about Bukake. Nobody else is talking about Bukake. Stephen Smoot starts talking about Bukake. I happen to know what Bukake is because I'm a horrible individual. And I'm going, why is Stephen Smoot talking about Bukake? He's talking about tapir, Bukake. And I just thought that was remarkable. So I went to bed. Everybody's losing their minds about this. I'm adding a few comments on Bill's Facebook page.
Of course.
I don't know what Bukake is. And I label him as Stephen Bukake Smoot. I gave him this name, which he will not wriggle out of, not while I'm alive. Stephen Bukake Smoot. And then I woke up the next morning and it's like this huge thread was now 200 messages less than it had the night before.
Oh.
And that's because Stephen Smoot went and took that thread because everybody was responding to what he said. He deleted his comment, which deleted everybody else's comment. Fortunately, however, there were some people who took some screen grabs. So I can prove what it is I'm telling you if Stephen Smoot ever wants to deny that he started talking about Bukake in Bill Reel's Facebook page.
And this is years ago. This is 5 years ago.
6 years ago.
This is why he's saying he can't wait until Bill Reel finds out. Well, I think Bill Reel knows because we mentioned this to him and he was kind of like, huh? I mean, I don't know if he had really a reaction. Did he?
Yeah. I mean, you look up insufferable in the dictionary, you got a picture of Stephen Smoot there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go ahead, Landon.
Well, I was just going to say this, the entirety of ex-Mormon won't know what hit him. Those of us that are have been participating in ex-Mormon for any amount of time, we've seen all of these arguments that you guys are trying to make. We've heard all of your explanations. It's the reason that most of us are on ex-Mormon is because we were believing members. We tried to hold on. We tried to follow your apologetics, and it became so apparent that it was so weak and so without any kind of foundation that you just laughed it off and had to say, oh my gosh, if this is the best that we can provide, it's obvious that they're not being truthful and that they don't have any foundation. You have to look no further than Book of Mormon archaeology, where they can't produce one single thing, yet they'll tell you all kinds of stories about why you can't find a single artifact. And they'll have a lot of scholars on. They'll have a lot of people who say a lot of big words that you say, well, that person sounds smarter than me, therefore it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who can read and who can reason can look right through that and see very quickly that I'm being hoodwinked here.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, let's go through to our
As
next
soon as
one.
these guys get more exposure, I expect the subscribers for Radio Free Mormon to increase dramatically.
Yes.
That's a good point. So,
first you'll see the Cavalry's numbers go up, and then you'll see Radio Free Mormon.
And then you'll see Radio Free Mormon. Well, I was so surprised that, right after we put the episode out, the very next day, I think it was Neil Rapley and Brant Gardner both joined as apologists for the group. So, definitely a lot of people feel there's a need for this and want to take part in the movement. All right, Landon, do you want to read this one, or is it your turn, RFM? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Landon, you read it, and then RFM can read the next one.
Okay, this is such a great idea. Just ask to join. Beast, we got Cavalry 2.0 now.
There you go.
Then all the scholars are more than welcome to join, especially if you're in Utah. But I anticipate all the good questions will be asked here in the Cavs still. Posts in this new group will be more event planning, organizing, community service in the form of harassing our God Loves Mormons friends, etc. Great. Do y'all know a timeline for a group at UVU? If they need any help in getting it put together as well, I'd love to help if I can.
Wow. I actually didn't read that middle one there. I was, putting this together so quickly.
What do you think about that, Rebecca? When he's saying, I anticipate all the good questions will be asked here in the Cavs still.
Yeah, I'm going to look up God Loves Mormons because I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Do that because I think that what they're talking about, and correct me if I have this wrong, Landon or Rebecca, if you're paying any attention, able to, because this is the private Facebook group that you got this screenshot from, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we should make that clear. This is from a member of the Cavalry who likes to share things. So.
And he's not supposed to be sharing things, but he's still sharing things. So we share them as well. Yes. So Noah Airmet here in this private Facebook group is letting on that not only is it wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're not using the name of the Cavalry in our group on BYU campus. We're just calling it the Apologetics Club. He's also letting us know that the good stuff will be kept private here on the Facebook group.
Right.
He says, I anticipate all the good questions will be asked here in the Cavs still. That means in this private Facebook group. Post in this new group will be more event planning, organizing community service in the form of harassing our God Loves Mormons friends, etc. So it sounds like from the outset, they're already going to have a handbook A and a handbook B.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think God Loves Mormons, it must be an evangelical site. I'm guessing it's somebody
that would be my guess too. But I'd like to compliment these guys because at such a young age, they've learned to behave exactly like apostles of God. They're as transparent as they know how to be with a playbook and a B playbook. The one playbook they tell the members and the playbook that they give to the common person on the street. That does not seem to be the way that I remember the gospel was supposed to be taught.
There's something about testimony and the power of the testimony bearing into the hearts of the people who hear that testimony.
Yep, I think you're right. But again, here they say organizing community service in the form of harassing this other group. So, and I understand that I think there are people, I think there are evangelicals that come and try to talk to people around the Provo Temple. And I think people from the Cavalry come and try to debate. I think there's a lot of heated things going on that most of us may not be aware of. And again, that's not how the church operates. You're supposed to bear your testimony. That's it. Let it speak for itself and walk away. I don't think they want anyone hearing the kind of information that some of these people may have. And I know that's what the Cavalry is trying to arm people with, is a rebuttal to the kind of information that they might be hearing, apologetics. But what the church wants you to do is just simply bear testimony and walk away. So this is very different.
Yeah, it sounds almost like they're being formed as an anti-evangelical group, but instead of calling themselves that, they're calling themselves the BYU Apologetics Group.
Did you find this page, Rebecca? GodLovesMormons.com?
I did, but I can't find anything on it that says about us, so I can't tell, but they do have a lot of articles, that seems like it would be. What do you think? Are you looking at it?
Yeah, it looks like it's just basically a bunch of evangelicals, criticizing Mormonism for probably all the standard reasons that we've heard for decades.
Right.
That's what I see here.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think the purpose of the Cavalry is because I think missionaries go out, they're confronted by extremely knowledgeable evangelicals who are, using scripture. They actually know the Bible, and trying to talk to the missionaries, and the missionaries are like, wait, what? The Cavalry is here to fill in that gap, give them information that they can use back in a debate back and forth, and, not have their testimony affected, I guess is what it's supposed to be. But the church, as I understand it, would rather the missionaries just turn around and leave, and certainly not plan an event where you're going to go someplace and bash with someone. There's nothing that's accomplished by that.
Yeah, it looks like at least one of these guys might be a protester outside General Conference. So one of those God bother or annoying types.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is a world. It's a world that exists. A lot of us don't know about this. There's a lot going on, I think. It's a lot more complex than perhaps we're aware. So.
Yes, and the only thing that's going to turn these anti-Mormons around, these God loves Mormons people around, is going to be bashing them.
Yeah. It'll completely work.
Totally. Yeah. I think that they're not really worried about turning them around. I think that they're worried about losing people. Yes. And from their point of view, trying to be charitable, they're trying to have safety in numbers and equip people with all the best apologetic answers so that they won't find themselves outside the church looking in for all eternity.
Yep. So it sounds to me like this group must be having an impact if they're, gearing up to fight this one group.
So you're saying the evangelicals must be having an impact if this Cavalry exists to gear up
that they need a club just to go and
I'm sure.
Them. Yeah.
Yep, I'm sure. So yep, and maybe that's why the church is turning a blind eye to it if it doesn't exactly follow its protocol of just bearing testimony. And I know it was kind of described to me in various interactions with Cavalry members that, it's stripling warriors, it's fighting the fight, arming yourself against, information, I guess is what they're arming themselves against, is information with your own brand of information.
It's about flashing the sword above the foe, all that kind of stuff. And I predict that before this school year's over, this will be disbanded after, what's his name? That's not Sainsbury? Derek Sainsbury?
Derek,
yeah, after he figures out what these guys are about.
Now, it would seem to me if they went and confronted this group in front of Temple School or in front of the conference
Provo
center
Temple,
or in front of the Provo Temple, that they should be wearing their BYU logos and the logo of their group.
That's what it said. You're right. It said that
represent. Yeah.
It said off campus, you should be wearing the BYU logo. So you're right. You should see BYU logos fighting with evangelicals in front of the Provo Temple soon.
I thought the funniest thing that was ever done with the protesters at the temple or at the conference center was when some character dressed up like Satan in this goofy Satan suit, with the cape and the horns and the pitchfork and everything. Just a funny looking thing, not looking, scary like Tim Curry in Legend, but just a funny kind of Satan outfit. And he was out there dancing around. He would go up to all the Christians and stand next to him and say, "Listen to this guy. He's got it straight. I believe this guy."
No, it's wildly entertaining. 2 years ago, was it 2 years or 3 years ago? Landon and a group of us went to Temple Square. We had not been to conference forever. It's very interesting. It's very organized outside the conference center. They have lines and you have to stand behind them if you're a protester. So you did have, looks like evangelicals. I saw somebody with a cross, and definitely the church is lying to you. The more interesting thing that I thought is there were members standing behind that line trying to get tickets to conference to get in. And they had signs like, "Drove all the way from Missouri. We're looking for 5 tickets. I saw my daughter needs to get in. She's turning 12. I saw we'll trade chocolate for tickets. I mean, they were trying hard. They had
anything other than chocolate.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but I'm not sure there weren't some, backroom deals on how to get in. Those tickets are hot items. Although what's funny is when you watch conference, it doesn't seem like every seat is taken. It seems like there's a lot of space, but we are very surprised to see all these people outside, family of 15 trying to go to our first conference, things like that. They were heart-wrenching stories of people trying to get into the building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I just want to, I hope we get an invite when they go to the Provo Temple to confront these guys, because I'd love to go and watch this. That should be
we might learn something, actually, Landon.
Yeah.
We would be exposed to these apologetics and we might learn something.
There you have it.
That's right. Well, I believe it happens on a certain night, and I know what night that is. So
what night?
I'm not going to announce it. I'm not going to say, because I don't want people rushing the temple. But I think you and I could go down there. What do you say?
Let's do it.
What happens on a certain night?
Okay. I'll tell you off the air, but I'm not going to say it.
Are you talking about second anointings?
Storm the temple. That's right. Not at all. Okay. Let's go to our next one. Oh, RFM's turn to read. Go ahead.
Noah Airmet, who seems to be a top dog in these guys. Yeah. Oh, and I almost forgot. We'd love to have any of the, I'll say it, Cavalry scholars come and present in person or virtually at our meetings once we get them up and running. We'd love if you could take even 30 minutes to share your expertise with everyone. Name redacted, and I will be reaching out to you. Ha ha. Stephen Smoot says, he gives a salute.
Salute.
Stephen Smoot, he couldn't crack a salute if his life depended on it. And Brant Gardner says, I can be available for a virtual meeting.
He's one of the newer scholars. He joined right after our last episode when we drew more attention to the group and got them more scholars and more converts.
I love Brant, but he's retired. He's getting lonely. He has to do something to fill his time.
I was really surprised that Brant would join this group. It does not seem like Brant Gardner's.
He's a very nice person. I've interacted online. Yeah,
he hasn't met Travis Anderson yet.
And that's what I feel like, because if you remember, Don Bradley, of course, is a scholar or was a scholar here. Yes. And, we know Don pretty well. He's an awesome, awesome person. Just got married. Congratulations, Don and Jasmine. And, we were surprised to see some comments, that we put up on Facebook or put up in our episode from Don. And he and I had a phone conversation, and he's like, I don't know. It sounded like he wasn't exactly sure what he had joined and didn't really have all the facts and didn't really know. I know that he went on The Backyard Professor to talk about that. And the idea he kind of pitched was that it was to support missionaries. It was to give missionaries information. I don't think he sounded like he was aware of this element of getting people on Zoom calls and bashing with them and recording it. He was certainly not on board with that. He really was just trying to help people, which is commendable and fine. And so I'm not sure if all the people that join as scholars are even aware of what's actually happening, aware of that community service. Let's go bash with this group. Right. I don't know if the scholars know that that's something that's going to be happening in addition to their 30-minute presentations to the group. So.
Yeah, this is like a typical BYU engagement in marriage. It happens so fast. You get married, then you spend the next 20 years figuring out who you just got married to.
That's right. I don't even know you. That's really funny.
I would have no problem. I've got no problem with these guys if they want to have their little apologetics club on BYU. Just be honest about who you are and what you're doing. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think, is that our last slide, Landon?
Or maybe that's actually what qualifies them to be Mormon apologists in the first place.
Is that they're not honest with their dealings. Possibly. I don't know. All right. I think is this our last one, Landon?
I don't know.
I think it is. All right. Yep, it is. Okay. So now we have, again, they're saying if any of you are interested in a BYU Idaho chapter of the Apologetics Club, like we heard before, Mothership and Pods, send me a DM. We have formed a small group chat of future members. Remember, BYU is the church's school, but BYUI is the Lord's school. Wink. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't heard that before. What do you think that means?
I don't think it means anything except trying to say that BYU Idaho is better than BYU Utah. Is it saying anything more than that, Landon?
Yeah.
No, that's exactly the way I read it. However, that neither one has the church. It doesn't have the church's or the Lord's sponsorship, evidently, in this. But they're going to certainly quote a lot of things that the church nor the Lord would back up.
Good point. Well done.
Yep, but it sounds like they're going to try to start these little pods, BYUI, all the other LDS colleges. So, and I think it's because the missionaries come home and, they've been seeped in this on the mission. It's been this support for them as they communicate over Facebook and different ways that you can communicate on your mission. And then they come home and they're, they want to keep it up. They want to continue to be a stripling warrior. The fight is real, I think is the message.
Who doesn't want to be a stripling warrior?
I'm telling you, it gives you a higher purpose. It's important.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't think we should call these pods those. Though. Oh, I think we should call these groups apologetic cells.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Landon?
I like it. It sounds kind of like a terrorist group out of the Middle East.
Yes, it does exactly, doesn't it? These are apologist cells.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. They are now, maybe we can go back and edit every time I said it was a pod. So, I always say Mormons are sleeper cells. We see that in the temple towns all the time. As soon as they announce a temple is being built, the neighbor certainly turns into somebody where they're not Mormon neighbors saying, who are you? Why are you wearing a white shirt going to the town meeting and saying that I'm the adversary? Why are you fasting for my heart to be softened? They can't believe it. And these members just instantly snap into that. So, well, very interesting. We just came across this and we wanted to make people aware. I don't know what any takeaways are. Landon or RFM, what do you think?
Well, I think you could compare this, and did you already at the top of the show that an apologist?
It was so long ago.
It has been. It seems like forever. The apologetics group gets a club sponsorship at BYU, and apparently they can meet on campus. But there's other clubs that are not respected enough to be accorded the same kind of courtesy.
Yeah, for me, the takeaway here is I think that that all these kids coming back from their mission, I say good for you. Learn all you can about the church and its history. I encourage you to study it. I would say look at other sources outside of just the ones that you're going to get from your club meetings, because you can look at those and you'll find that they're not they're not trying. Half the things I read didn't even know what a Mormon was as I started reading it. But as I did start studying, I found that everything the science, the linguistics, the anthropology, the geology, the geography, none of it worked when you looked at the church's arguments or these apologetic arguments. But when you started just looking at neutral sources, it all just gelled so well, and you could just see how well everything formed together and complemented each other. And that is what scholarship is. So I encourage you, go ahead, join an apologetics group, study all you can, learn all you can about the church and its history. It's fascinating.
There you go. Landon says, bring it on, right?
Absolutely.
That's your bottom line. Bring it on. And that's kind of like you, RFM, right? You were an apologist and you studied and studied and studied. And now here you are on Mormonish. Did you ever think it would happen?
No, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would rise this high to be on Mormonish. When actually we just did a show. I'd normally be home by now. But
I know. You were so kind. It's true. We are taping this after the newscast. I will say that. You can probably tell I'm wearing the same thing I wore for the newscast back on the 16th. So RFM was very kind to jump in. So we'll wrap this up and end. I think those were great final thoughts. And
hang on. Un momento, por favor.
Go ahead.
Last thought is the problem about being an apologist is you have to be ready for any situation, which means you have to know all the criticisms of the church. That's why it's dangerous.
You have to know your enemy. You have to. And in knowing your enemy, you may start to figure out that your enemy makes sense. And there you go.
We have met the enemy, and
it is us.
And it is us. Wow. Powerful words to end on. I love this. So, all right. Well, thank you, both of you, Landon and Aaron, RFM, for helping us cover this. And thank you to the Cavalry. There you are. And again, we what would you say? We like you. You guys are awesome. We know a lot of you. So we just kind of
not Travis Anderson or Stephen Smoot.
Well,
we don't like them.
Some of the tactics, yeah, we just kind of question those, but we hope it's okay. And I'm guessing you'll get tons more members just from this podcast, and more apologists are going to join you. So I think it's all good. It's a win-win for everybody, but just consider this kind of an infomercial, right? Kind of letting people know what's going on with the Cavalry 2.0, as they called themselves, right there in some of the posts. So, all right, please comment. Let us know if you guys are aware of this new group at BYU and what you think. We'd love to get your take on that. And please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. If you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit that notification bell. If you would like to financially support Mormonish Podcast, we have links in the show notes to Donor Box. We're a 501(c), and we greatly appreciate everybody that does donate to us. It means so much to us. It absolutely makes our day. We get a little email that comes in that says somebody made a donation. It just makes us really happy to know that our work has meaning and that you help support us. We just love you guys. So, and we also have merch, of course, as everybody does. RFM has merch too. If you go over to his, you do, you have amazing merch.
I couldn't even see what was on your cup. You flashed it so quickly. Can you hold it there and up to the camera?
Mormonish.
There we go.
Mormonish, what is that?
Cool stuff. We have all kinds of like tumblers and sweatshirts and bottles, and it's fun. Hats, all kinds of. We might even get a vehicle. Who knows? A Mormonish van. Should we try it? That would. I
want you to know something. I just thought of something so objectionable. I'm not even going to say it on your show.
Well, really?
Yeah.
You can't tease us like that.
I can, and I will. But I'll tell you after the show. But I just want everybody to know. I don't say everything that comes into my head.
Thank God.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why.
And there it is. He's really not going to say it. You know what? I'll leak it later. I'll post it in the show notes. So Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks RFM. Thanks Landon. Thanks the Cavalry. And we'll see y'all next time on Mormonish. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.